grim, but also this part just drops out, and you can have a mouth as wide open as possible. Now Mickey Mouse has that little tiny mouth. Like my father used to say, he has a mouth like a chicken's butt. Well, he wouldn't say that about Mickey Mouse, but some actors you'd see on TV, I think. But in his eye, little tiny eyes, you can't do anything with. And here you don't have those big ears in the way, so you can't wear a hat. But no, it's physically, the design of a character, it's great, because the eyes can be as big as you want them, and the mouth can open as wide as you want it. The thing that always mystified me, it puzzles me is how, you see this entire screen? Maybe not. The duck's teeth. If a duck opens his beak from the front, there's never any teeth, but actually it's a duck. There's no teeth. Oh, what a nice drawing. But if he opens his mouth like in a grimace from the back, somehow there's always teeth in it. Making this expression and open his mouth, all the teeth would fall out. The physical design, which not even Karl Barks could, I guess, claim responsibility for, but I'm sure he recognized it, how useful it was.
When you draw, how would you describe your style? Is there something that makes you special from other artists?
The way I always describe my style is needless and irritating detail, which I know is what has always made it popular. It obviously makes it easy to recognize, because I've never tried to adopt any kind of a Disney style. Like I say, I don't think of myself as being Disney comics. I'm just love Karl Barks' characters. I'm certainly not trying to imitate Karl Barks the way capable professional cartoonists like Don Yippas can imitate anybody. You can do Al Taliaferro style, or Karl Barks style, or Tony Strobel style. I just draw my favorite characters in the only style I've got, which is mine, which is all I've been able to develop through not having any kind of training.
Do you consider yourself a good artist?
No, people often say I'm being too modest. Why are you so modest? And I say, I'm a comics fan. I know what good art is and what bad art is, and I don't like my own art, but I say, I'm not that modest if you ask me the right question. If you say, are your comics entertaining? You're damn right they're entertaining. That's all I do. I just cram it with as much as I can. It doesn't have anything to do with pay. I just fill every single space to make it as entertaining as I can, regardless of the quality of the art. I just want to make it as entertaining as I can for another comic book fan. And that I seem to do pretty good.
In your comic book stories, we can see a lot of continuity. Not the way as in Marvel comics, where you have all these comic books with long histories going 40 or 50 or 60 years back in time. What do you feel about continuity in Disney comics in general?
Sometimes I'm sort of annoyed when people accuse me of trying to introduce Marvel comic continuity into these comics, and I don't think I'm trying to do that. I didn't grow up with that sort of continuity where every single thing is related to every other thing. But I know that comic publishers, Disney comic publishers, are wrong when they think that each story is better if each one is standalone, and that the reader never has to have read a previous story and never has to read another one to enjoy it. Although I think my comics are that way also. But I know as a comics fan, readers like just a touch of continuity. I always tell people, is based on the comics I was reading in the late 50s through the mid 60s, the Superman comics that were edited by a man named Mark Weisinger, DC Comics in America. And he introduced the limited continuity, which was just very loose. If the model city of Candor was mentioned, or Brainiac, or the Supergirl's home city of Argo, if they were mentioned once, 6 months later they might be just loosely referred back to as having happened. And I know comic book readers like that. That gives them a link to past stories and makes them feel good that they remember that story, and makes them hope to see another comment like that. So they're participating in the history of the characters. They're not just observing it. And that, to digress, the other thing that when I first went to work for European comics in the 1990s, Disney publishers were convinced that it was better that the readers have no idea who writes and draws the stories, and that they think that if they're stupid, that they still think the deceased Walt Disney was still writing and drawing all of these comics. But that's absolutely wrong. When the comic book reader can identify stories to different writers and artists, that increases their interest 1,000-fold. And that was proven to the Disney publishers when Gladstone Comics, in 1986, this tiny little company in Arizona, like 3 people who got the Disney license for all of North America because nobody else wanted it. The first Disney Comics company in history to show the names of the writers and artists and discuss the history of the characters and the history of the comics, and that was revolutionary. That was the first company to do it. Now, virtually every Disney publisher in the world does that, imitating Gladstone. There's only like 1 or 2 holdouts for whatever strange reason. But so it's somewhere in between, like Marvel continuity and total lack of continuity. I think I fall in imitating the Superman comics of the 50s.
Talking about Gladstone, could you tell me the story